Hello everyone, welcome to the Empower Series Online. My name is Clifton Johnson. I'm the founder of the Empower Series Incorporated. It's a 501c3 nonprofit organization that's brought to you by the generous donations of Comerica Bank, AE Media Group, and you, so thank you. Today, we're going to talk about building wealth. Actually, the month of April every year is National Financial Literacy Month, but every day you make financial decisions. There are resources out there that can help you build wealth, but I'll tell you, every day when you wake up, there is somebody trying to separate you from your money. We're going to talk about a guide, a very simple guide that if you follow these 5 steps, it's science. It's proven that you're going to be in a better place a year from now than you are today. But you got to follow the 5 steps. It's not follow 1 and 2 and not 3 and 4, or follow 4 or 5 and not the rest of them. You got to follow all of them. So we're going to go through this. First, I'm going to tap you into it because you got to go online. You can download it and print it out. There's also a link on the very bottom of the video you can go to download this PDF. But if you go online, you can follow the program either online, download the PDF, or you can download a PDF for a tablet. So go to this website here. You're seeing it on the screen now. Go to this website. It's the Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas. So take the time and look at the website. There you go. Google it, click on it, and get to this screen. And when you scroll down, you'll be able to see that there's 3 tabs. The first tab is to go through this program online. So you don't need any paper. You just go through, you be at the library, be at your home, be on your tablet, whatever you want to do. The second tab says, hey, well, if I want to print this out and just go through it like I've done, there's a 40-page PDF that you can print out, and you can just go through the pages. And those are the page numbers I want to reference to you. But let's say if you have a tablet, you can use a tablet too. Another PDF you can download. But either way, the content is very simple. So I'm not going to go through and have this long program. I'm just going to give you a guide to it and reference page numbers. So are you there? Have you downloaded the program? If you haven't downloaded the program, you need to stop, pause, wait. I'll wait for you. I'm waiting. You got it? Cool. All right, so here we are. So you should see a document that looks like this. This is the front page of it. It's called Building Wealth, a Beginner's Guide to Securing Your Financial Future. So if you go to the next page, it gives you an outline and it says there's 5 steps. So the 5 steps are simply this. You got to learn the language. Okay, you can't be speaking Spanish and you're in a different country. You're speaking English and you're in France. So you got to learn the language of wealth. And there's only 3 simple words I really want you to focus on: assets, liabilities, and net worth. I'll tell you what those are later. The second step is to budget to save. So I know the B word, okay, it's a different kind of B word, but people have the same kind of emotional reaction to it. You can call it whatever you want, a spending plan, your wealth creation plan, but you got to plan how you're going to spend your money, and you've got to make sure that you're saving and investing, which is the third step, to save and invest. The fourth step is to understand how to build credit and control your debt spending. The fifth step is simply protecting your wealth. So 5 simple steps. You can read this guide, and I swear, I will promise you, if you follow this simple resource, you will be in a different place. Why don't we just do this? Why don't you and I make an agreement? I'll follow this and you follow this. And so a year from now, so whatever the date is, come back to me, put a little comment, and tell me about your experiences of how you followed this simple guide that was out there for free. You didn't have to pay anybody. You didn't have to go hire a financial advisor. You can do that at some point. You probably will. But as a very beginning phase, just follow this guide and it will put you in a different place. Before we start, we're going to begin by defining what wealth means to you. Because wealth can mean different things to different people. Wealth could be being in good health, having good relationships, being compassionate, and all of those things. And they're all wealthy things. What we're going to do here is we're going to limit our scope and talk about wealth as a means of financial wealth. If you go to page 1, it tells you there's some basic principles to create wealth. Having a goal, saving, following the sound money management principles. So we're going to talk about those, but I want you to take a moment on page 1 on the very bottom of it, and I want you to write down what wealth means to you from a financial perspective. What does that mean? Does that mean that you're able to buy a house, you're able to put your kids through college, you're able to have more money left over at the end of the month? Whatever that might be, I want you to take a moment and be clear on what wealth means to you, and do that now. So now that you know what wealth means to you, and there's no judgment, so nobody can tell you what wealth means. This is you, so you can share it with somebody else, or you can just keep it to yourself. What you will find out though is that when you're at different age groups, let's say when you're a teenager, wealth might mean one thing, but then when you are in college, it means something different. When you're after college and you're having your first job, you might have a different idea of wealth. So everybody's wealth is different. It's different as you go through different phases of life, but the first thing you've done is you define what it is you want, so that's great. So pages 2 and 3 are going to talk about learning the language of wealth and talking the language, talking the talk. There's only 3 words I want you to really have clarity around: assets, liabilities, and net worth. That's going to be your report card through this entire process. They say usually when you go to school, you get A's, B's on a report card. In life, your report card is your net worth. So don't worry about where you start, just make sure that you make improvements. So if you look on page 2, first off, we're going to define what is an asset. So an asset is usually something of value, and it's not like a good personality, your smile, you got your healthy body, you're a good friend, not that kind of stuff. We're talking about financial assets. So that is your cash in your checking account, or usually things that go up. Your cash in your savings account, but your cash in your savings account needs to go up if you put money in it and you don't take it out. So we're talking about those kind of things. Those are liquid assets. And then we have assets that may not be as liquid, such as the value of your car, your home, and other personal properties. So go ahead and take the time, read that section, understand what an asset is, and start gathering your assets so you know exactly what the value is: the balance in your bank account, the balance in your savings account, things of that nature, balance in your IRA account. So those are your assets. Now you have liabilities. Now liabilities are the things that you owe. So it could be a mortgage, balance on the mortgage that you owe for your home, or the balance on a car, your credit cards, or you owe Uncle Jojo some money, whatever that might be. So if you owe someone money, those are called debts or liabilities. So identify what that is. And if you've been neglecting, put your head in the sand, and you don't know all of your debts, you may need to run a credit report, but that's another step. So identify all of your liabilities, the money that you owe to other people or other companies, those are your liabilities. And then simply your net worth is a calculation, is when you subtract from the value of your assets, your liabilities. Some people will still have a positive number after that. Some people have a negative number. Whatever that is, if you look on page 3 will actually give you an example of Anthony's net worth, $24,000. Lucky Anthony, right? So you can see an example of the balances in his cash, savings account, stocks, retirement accounts, things of that nature. And then the value of his car, which is called usually an illiquid asset. An illiquid asset usually means that it's going to take more than a year or so, or more than a month, to sell it and get the cash value from it. So those are examples of assets. Then you have the liabilities: home mortgage, the home equity line of credit on his home, car note, credit cards, things of that nature, student loans. So you take those 2 numbers, and then you subtract the liabilities from the assets, and you get the net worth. So I want you now to take the time to figure out yours. So that was a simple step 1. Take the time, pause the video, figure that out, and then come back and we'll talk about step 2. All right, now we're ready for step 2. Step 2 is the B word, budgeting. Budgeting to save. So look, it takes the same amount of energy to wish as it does to plan. So why not just plan? Because it's going to increase your chances of achieving your goal. So if you go to page 4 starts with, what would you like your net worth to be? Imagine. So you can, right, because all things are possible, put out there that you want $1 billion net worth, $1 million net worth, or whatever that might be. But let's just say you break it down and you identify a number of where you want to be 5 years from now. No judgment. 5 years from now and 10 years from now. Go ahead and take the time to write down a number of what you would like your net worth to be. Then those are your financial goals. Set those. Now we're going to talk about short-term goals and long-term goals. So your 5-year net worth number may be a long-term goal for you. A short-term goal is usually what you would like to accomplish within the next 12 months, or it could be 6 months. And you can even break down to 3 months to take little baby steps to achieve your goal. Take the time, read this. Here's some financial tips. Be very realistic. The decision is out on that. It's what's realistic. Realistic is whatever you have the desire to believe and achieve that you can do it. Also, establish a time frame, devise a plan, and be flexible with your goal and be willing to change over time. What does that mean? That means if you want to save $1,200 within a particular year, and that's going to take you saving $100 a month, can you save $100 a month? And if that's not realistic, then you may want to break it down to saving $600 in a year, because you can save then $50 a month. So whatever that might be. If you want to save $12,000 and you have the ability to do so, then increase it. Whatever that is, work with it. But I want you to take the time and identify some short-term goals. What is that? Saving some money into cash, paying out for your debt, being able to save up for a car, a down payment for a home, whatever that might be. What are some short-term goals? Now, a long-term goal are usually things that's going to take 2 to 3 years to accomplish. So that might be paying off your debt. You may not be able to pay off your debt in 12 months. Or it may be saving up for a down payment for a car. Maybe even saving up a down payment for a home. Whatever that might be, or paying for college. Let's identify some long-term goals as well as short-term goals. Take the time to do that. That's on page 4. Page 5 is now developing a plan and then a budget and then living within it. So take the time to read that. That's pretty straightforward. I don't need to step you through that in that perspective. But what I will tell you to do is you need to do 3 things. You need to first identify where is your money going. So if you go to page 6, you'll be able to track on a daily basis all of the money that's coming out and going into your account, whether you charge it or whether you pay cash. So the example on page 6 gives you a daily spending or day-to-day spending guide. You can write this down, you can put it in your app on the phone, you can use Quicken or whatever your software program is to track your spending. But it would be great if you don't know where your money goes today to go ahead and start tracking it now. That will tell you what is actually happening. You might think you're spending $200 a month on food, but when you track it, you'll find that you're spending $300, $400, $500 a month on food. But once you do that, then you can look at what's realistic. Should you be spending that much money on those non-discretionary items? Is that going to help you save and achieve your goals? So now that you know where your money's going, if you go to page 7, you can look at page 7 and actually create an ideal budget for you. So what is the plan? The plan is that you know how much money is usually coming in, and then you look at the categories of where you would like your money to go, ensuring that you're not spending more than what's coming in. It would be great if you use a zero-based budget. What that means is that if you subtract your expenses, your planned expenses from your income, then the available money left over will be 0. And also you got to budget for your savings. So follow that example, read the tips. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below. I will definitely answer them. So that's step number 2. You got to create some goals, create a budget, a plan for you achieving those goals, and then follow it. If you don't know where your money's going, you got to track it. And the other system about budgeting is making sure that you're not only planning where your money goes, you're tracking where your money goes, and you're taking the time to review it at the very end of that period of time, whether it's every paycheck or pay period or every month. So now I'm going to talk about step 3. Step 3 is about saving and investing. The saving part is pretty simple. You've got to have money left over at the end of the month in order to save. People think investing is sexy, and it is. However, I'm just going to give you the guide of what the Federal Reserve Bank says. I really would encourage you to meet with a financial advisor. You can meet with a financial advisor at your bank. You can ask someone that you respect that's doing well financially, who they work with, if they're working with a financial advisor. But whatever you do, I would really encourage you not to use Uncle Louie or Suzanne or a good friend or a neighbor who is in finance. Hire a professional. In the very beginning, if you don't want to do that, definitely read, starting on page 8, everything that is under step 3 for saving and investing. It will give you a foundational knowledge of what investing is all about, the different categories of assets, compounding interest, things of that nature, what the rule of 72 is. And all of those are foundational things that where you're meeting with a financial professional and they're telling you things, you will then be able to discern them. But starting on page 8, realize the importance of compounding interest. There's a graph here that tells you what that means, so follow it. I'm not going to spoon feed you. You got to do the work. So page 8 tells you that. If you go to page 9 will be understanding risk and return. So it's very simple. The way you look at it is, if there's no risk, there's no gain. There's no possibility for gain. Usually if you put money in a bank account or a CD, that money is guaranteed by FDIC, and because of that, you're not going to gain wealth. It's not really going to increase greater than the rate of inflation. So if you want to put your money someplace where you have a chance of keeping up with inflation or exceeding inflation, you have to accept some level of risk. Now, what that level of risk is varies for everybody, and that's where it's very important for you to meet with a financial advisor. But you can understand the basics by reading page 9 and page 10 when it comes to saving and investing, and the difference between saving at a bank and then investing in things like stocks, bonds, mutual funds, or even in your 401k, which is explained on page 10 and 11. Again, and 12, take the time to read this, understand what it says. If you have any questions, definitely you can talk to your banker or talk to a financial advisor to get more information. But understand that the first thing you got to do is be able to put money away and not touch it. If you're not able to save and keep money in a savings account and not touch it, you got to be very careful when you're putting money in investments, because investments are usually long-term investments that are not designed for you to put money in and take money out quickly. So budget, save, plan for the future, meet with a financial advisor, read section 3, and you're on your way. The other thing you can do when you look at investing is you got to realize that you're investing in other people. The most important person to invest in is yourself. And you got to know yourself. So you got to look at how you're managing your money, how you identify your goals, and you monitor your behaviors to see, are they in alignment with the things that you value? Would you invest in you? Now, if you would invest in you, you have those kind of principles and you have an idea that you think will be really of good value and marketable and people will pay money for your idea, for your service or product, then you can always start a business. And that is an investment as well. So you can invest in yourself by educating yourself, reading, studying, going through this guide. You can also invest in yourself by saving and not getting into debt. You can invest in yourself by starting a business and using all of the other resources out there that can assist you through the Small Business Administration to take your idea to a higher level. But that's another program and another day. But truly investing and saving is part 3. Take the time to read through this. Have any questions, put the questions in the comments below, and I will connect you to the resource to get those questions answered. All right, so step 4 is really about credit. It's building credit and really controlling your debt. So that's on page 16 through page 21. And it starts with understanding your credit history. Knowing your assets, your liabilities, and your net worth is a foundational start. This is going to be focused on the liabilities portion. So know what your creditors say about you. Running your credit report. There's 3 credit reporting agencies: Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. There's a website and a telephone number for all 3 of them, and you can get a report annually by going to www.annualcreditreport.com. During the pandemic, they were allowing you to download your credit report free at least every week. So that's step number 1. There's also another program that we've done where you can go and check that out. We'll tell you a little bit more about the different strategies and different techniques for getting out of debt. But for now, if you just read page 16 to 21, you'll get a lot of valuable information and then be able to take advantage of any meeting you have with a certified credit counseling service. Well, one thing I would recommend though is if your goal is to improve your credit score or to learn about credit, you should never pay for that service. That's my own bias. There are nonprofit organizations out there that will not charge you to educate you. So if you're trying to get educated and understand your choices, never pay for that. And then there's also services that they provide at a very low cost, and usually agencies that will charge you to clean your credit or just do your debt settlements, I would be very careful about using those. So back to this, go ahead and read page 16 to 21, get some information, understand your credit score. There are tips about how you build good credit, and it's not rocket science. It's simply paying your bills on time, living within your budget and not charging things that you can't pay for at the end of the month. So it's not really complicated, but it's easy to do, but it's also easy not to do. So that's really on page 17, talking about debt, I would say take your debt on. Know that you can get out of debt. If you've overextended yourself, made past sins, and we all do, and you have a number of debt, a number of credit card payments that you just can't make, if you go to page 19, the first step I would say is let's kind of define how big the problem is. List out all of your debts, list out how much you owe, what the interest rate is, and at least what your monthly payment is. And you can also see what the cost is by looking at your statement and seeing how much do they charge you every month. That might be an incentive to say we got to take this debt on. And then there's a lot of different ways you can accomplish this. There's a program where we talked about the snowball effect and then the avalanche effect. And so each one of those are different. If your debt is out of control, take it on. And this is what I mean by that. Identify how big the mountain is. That means go ahead and list out all of your debts. And there's a worksheet on page 19. List out all of your debts, how much you actually owe on each debt, list out the interest rate that you're paying. You can also put down the interest, monthly interest that it's incurring, and then write down next to it how much you pay. What is the minimum for each one of those, and total that up. You should at least have that in your budget. Now, if you look at paying the minimum, it's going to take you a very long time to pay off your debt. If you want to pay extra towards your debt, then there's two techniques you can use. You can use either the snowball effect or the avalanche effect. So either one takes into account paying off the lowest balance first. The other one takes into account paying off the highest interest rate first. Either way, the one that pays off the highest interest rate will allow you to pay less in interest. But the one that allows you to pay off the lower balance first gives you the feeling of knocking out debts and eliminating debts faster. Either one will help you get out of debt. So I would just say, pick one and apply it and stick to it. So that you can start on page 19, understanding how to choose the right loan, as well as being aware of high interest credit cards and making financial decisions. I would say use your debt wisely. It's really talked about on page 20 and page 21. Also making sure that you are protecting yourself from identity theft. Take the time to read through this. Once you read through this, you will have fundamental knowledge to understand more than what you know today about credit. But the most important thing is take everything that we've talked about, steps 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and start putting it into action. So know what wealth means, understand the language of what assets minus liabilities and net worth is, and then do the budgeting. Make sure you're having enough money to save and apply towards your future, whether it's investing and saving. And then you want to make sure that you are wherever you are. We're almost done. Step number 1, know the language. Step number 2, budget to save. Step number 3 is save and invest. And number 4 is understanding your credit, taking on debt, paying it off, and you can do it. Have belief that you can do it. Step 5, we're about to talk about now. If you are implementing the first 4 steps, you are gaining wealth. The most important thing then is to now protect it, because something can happen and it could knock you back, and something will happen. So either something has happened that knocks you back. If nothing's happening that's knocking you back, then it's going to happen. And so what you want to put in place is proper insurance. So step number 5, which starts on page 22, talks about the different types of insurance that you should get. And usually when things are tight, people drop insurance. What this is going to do is going to educate you on the different types of insurance policies that are out there. And all of these things are designed to preserve your wealth and make sure that you're not depleting your savings, you're not getting more into debt. So it's important for you to understand it. Once you understand it, to understand the risk, for you to get it and talk to an insurance agent. So step number 1 on page 22 is understanding the different types of insurance. So you have auto insurance. Legally, you've got to have that. If you own a mortgage, you have to have homeowners insurance. And then you have medical insurance, and that's a big one, making sure that if you get any kind of injury, you're not wiped out by having large medical bills. And then there's life insurance, disability insurance, long-term care insurance, and all of those things. Again, I'm expecting you to download this worksheet and go through that. I'm not going to define for you what that is. We don't need time for that. If you're listening to it, then you need to make sure that you can download the PDF and read pages starting on page 22 through page 25. And those are your 5 steps. So we're going to do a quick review right now, but those are your 5 steps. So the first thing we really talked about is you defining what wealth means to you. What is wealth? And set realistic goals or financial goals, whether they're short-term or long-term. Short-term is usually within 12 months. Long-term could be anywhere from 2 to 3 to even 5 or even more longer. And it's important for you to identify what your assets are and what your liabilities are. Once you know what that is, then you can start talking about what are your wealth building strategies. You want to educate yourself. That's good. You got to save up money for that. Establish your financial goals, creating a budget. All of those things are tools that will help you make progress towards your goal. Take advantage of compounding interest, save for your future, work with a financial advisor, start putting money away into your retirement accounts at work and take full benefit from any matching programs that they'll talk to you about. Control your debt spending, live within your means, and protecting your wealth. So that's a quick review. That's on page 26. Check that out. And then also, there's a glossary of terms. So back to learning your language on page, or learning the language, on page 27 through 29 is a glossary of terms. So what is accrued interest? What is cash flow? What's a collateralized asset? What's a common stock? What's a credit report? What's a balance sheet? What's direct deposit? What's a 401k? So if there's any terms that you don't understand and you're sitting across from a financial advisor and they're talking Greek to you, you can look at page 27 through 29 and increase your vocabulary of wealth. On page 30, it's resources that are out there. So there's a ton of resources out there that people just don't know about that can help you, from free personal financial education resources for the youth, also how to help you with your debt in different areas of Texas. There's a credit coalition for the Houston area. There's also books and publications you can go to. There's consumer protection resources that are funded by the government. So again, that's on pages 30 through 32. And then the last pages 33 through the very end of this, are forms that you can work on for yourself. So there's a balance sheet that allows you to list out your assets, your liabilities, and your net worth. You can do this on a piece of paper, or you can use this form if you want a form to do it. You can also look at your daily spending plan. There's a worksheet here that has the date, your description of your expense, whether it's a cash, debit, or debit card or a check that you write, or if it's a charge. And then you also have a budget sheet that you can use here. And then there's some examples. If you go through the guide online or you go through the tablet phase, there are different people. There's a young person, there's a more mature person, middle age, a college student. There's all these different examples. And what they've done online is they have allowed you to look at each one of these people that you can relate with possibly and look at their goals. Look at what they have identified in filling out these forms, and then you can do that yourself. So, this is a different program than most programs. It's just me. I didn't have a guest. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to tap you into a resource that you can use to achieve your goals. The Empower series is about this. Every program, I want to make sure that I'm delivering hope, inspiration, education, and connecting you to resources. So here's the hope. If you're breathing, you can do it. No matter where you are, everybody has started someplace and have moved forward, and there are people around there who are in better situations, not as good situations, and then there's you. So you can do it. So have hope. I want to inspire you to act on your ideas. So every idea you have is a big idea. It can happen if you just believe in it and start doing it. I went to T.D. Jakes' service. He said, if you're going to have somebody pray for you, you want to have somebody pray who is a dreamer, someone who has a vision, and someone who has faith to believe that any idea that you have can be manifested in your life. So the most important person who can pray for you is you. So believe that whatever ideas you have can be manifested in your life. So be inspired to act on your ideas, be a good steward of your ideas. That would dictate how you spend your time. It would also dictate who you spend your time with, and it will manifest in your life in the material possessions that you're looking for and the relationships that you're looking for. So have hope, be inspired to act, Take advantage of these resources that you can download and educate yourself, learn more. With that being said, I want to thank you for this brief amount of time that we've had together. This will be out there for everybody. Share it with somebody else. Don't keep this a secret. There's somebody around you in your circle that can benefit from learning about the Empower series or learning about this Building Wealth Guide. You were just talking to somebody about that, right? So please share, like, provide your comments. I take good comments. I also take constructive feedback. So if there's anything that you want to talk about or that you think that can be improved by this program, definitely give me your feedback and then do something about it. Until we meet again, I want you to be empowered and inspired to thrive. Thank you. Thank you for watching our Empower Series YouTube video. I really hope you enjoyed it. Remember to hit the subscribe button below, as well as the little button to be notified the next time we upload our video. Until then, stay connected with us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever your social media flavor is. Inspire the world to thrive. See you soon.